Everybody is gone.
Everybody has
slack about it.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, and that's why it's the consumer that can affirm or assert this right because they now know.
Okay. Mrs. Ogundikwe, you are the Director of Surveillance and Enforcement, and from what she read, she said the airlines are required to have centers or customer care complaints desk for their consumers. Is this the practice? Do we really have this access to these mechanisms as provided by the Act in the airports?
Well, let me first of all, I won't restrict it first of all to the customer care centers. Okay. When this Act came out, some of the parts of the Act were actually implemented. And I'm sure you recall the time maybe your flight was delayed and they gave you refreshment and all that stuff. You know, even though I would say maybe it has slowed down lately because there are more flights on time now. Okay. You know, so that aspect has, to a large extent, due to the kind of pressure that we gave when we actually started distributing flyers and sensitizing people, they actually started practicing it. In terms of the customer care centers, I must say they really are not there yet. What you really find are just maybe at the beginning the ticketing desk, and then you have the desk where they check you in when you're finally going to the flight, and all the other desks are not manned. But the NCAA itself, the sector regulator, has its own desk, or it has its own, let me say, pull-up banner where you can make your complaints and get let me say quick redress. But let me say the issue is that if you cannot get redress on the spot, you need to come to CPC. Before you come to the CPC, in the airport itself, each of the airlines are represented. Okay. Try and get your redress from the airlines. If you don't get any redress from the airlines, then you come to the CPC. Okay.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Adeyinka, you read out the rights of consumers, and I know that one of the mandates of CPC is to create consumer awareness. What's CPC doing to ensure that consumers actually know these rights?
Yes, the Consumer Protection Council, as you rightly noted, is mandated to educate consumers on their rights, and immediately in all sectors and in all areas of products and services. So when we got hold of these rights as enumerated in the Passenger Bill of Rights, we made sure that handbills were produced. Okay. Consumers were sensitized. Airports was distributed nationwide to make sure that you have it in your hands. Read, and then we had a lot of TV programs, including what we're doing now, sensitizing consumers that these rights are yours. Claim them. Demand for them. If your flight is delayed, these are the responsibilities of the carrier to you. And thankfully, awareness is now generating the tempo at the airports. Consumers now will tell you, if I'm delayed for 1 hour, I know what to do. 2 hours, I know what to do. A baggage clause, you know what to do. Okay. You know, and because you see, one of the things about right is that it's only when you are informed that you can enforce it.
Thank you very much. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we will discuss what the CPC has been doing to support consumers and the complaints mechanisms. Don't go away. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing an interesting topic: consumer rights and the aviation sector. We've talked about the law regulating the aviation sector and the rights of consumers. You can follow us on our other platforms, our Twitter handle, our website, our Facebook, and of course our contact details that have been scrolled on your screen. Welcome back to the program, Mrs. Ogundikwe, Mrs. Adeyinka. Okay. Yes, before we went on a break, you know, we talked about the need for consumers to enforce their rights to avoid certain pitfalls. But I want us to talk about international best practices. Is the Nigerian aviation sector, in quotes, far back from civilization? And where are we getting it right, or where are we getting it wrong, and where would we need to improve on our services?
Prior to 2012, I would say yes, we were far from the other climes. But since the implementation of the Passenger Bill of Rights by the NCAA, I say we're moving at par, near par, because there's still some areas that you need to tweak a little. So in terms of the laws, you do have the laws, but the where we're lagging behind is the implementation of the laws. And even for international airlines, they tend to be they tend to treat Nigerian passengers quite differently from passengers of other countries, even within Nigeria. Once you have a different passport, you're treated differently, and certainly abroad. Because once you step out of these shores, you go to the very first point of call, maybe in Europe or US, you find that it's a whole new set of rules. So what we need to do now is to ensure that the Passenger Bill of Rights of the NCAA is implemented to the letter, and that all the airlines are responsible and responsive to their obligations.
Okay. Mrs. Adeyinka, a lot of times when an issue props up, say a trending matter, and CPC comes into it, you get sector regulators saying you have no jurisdiction yet. Does the CPC have jurisdiction in matters affecting the aviation sector?
Yes, thank you very much. This is a very interesting question. Because jurisdiction is defined by your enabling law.
Okay.
Government institutions are created by law, and it means that the law tells you what powers you have, functions you are supposed to perform. Now, this Consumer Protection Council Act is the enabling law that established the Consumer Protection Council and gave it its powers. And one of the powers of the council is to provide speedy redress to all consumer complaints in all sectors, on all products and services. Now, aviation sector provides airline services. So insofar as the services are consumed by consumers, they fall within the mandate of the Consumer Protection Council.
Yes.
Now, the CPC is not required to regulate the aviation sector, but is required to protect consumers' interest in the aviation sector. Okay. In other words, if a consumer is not satisfied with the services of an airline operator, that is the mandate of the Consumer Protection Council.
Okay, so they can always come to us.
They can always come to us when they are not satisfied.
Okay, so Mrs. Ogundikpe, I know we say this over and over and over again, but at the risk of sounding like a broken record, how do I go about enforcing my rights? How do I complain to the CPC if need be?
Well, you can say it over and over again, but one of the things, first of all, you always complain to the service provider. Is if you do not get any redress, that you come to the CPC. But I also must mention that a consumer has rights, but the consumer also has obligations. If, for example, you're an air traveler, one of the things you want to look at what are the conditions of the ticket. Okay. Because some people go on the line or collect a ticket and they just punch all the necessary things is issued. They don't go back to read the conditions of carriage. You need to look at the conditions of carriage so you can be sure before you purchase a ticket whether it matches your needs. Also, another thing some people do is that some of the airline operators make mistakes. They tag your luggage. Look at the tag and be sure that it's your name that's on the tag and that it's to the destination where you're expected to land. So you as a consumer, you have obligations to save yourself from pain. So you should make sure you go by your obligations, and then it will be easier for you to now insist on your rights from the airlines. Okay. So if you have a problem with the airlines, then you can come to Consumer Protection Council.
Okay, how can we contact you? Do we call in? Do we send a mail? Do we have to come in person?
No, you don't. You may come in person if you wish.
Okay.
First of all, like you know, we have our head office and we have our Lagos office and 6 zonal offices. You can come via email. You can get onto our website and make a complaint. You can call us on our hotlines. You can send an SMS. Any way
you can tweet about it.
You can tweet. You can do whatever, but just make contact with us. And once you do, we'll be able to take it up.
Okay. Thank you very much. We are running out of time, but I would